push and shove. Possession is the motivation that is hanging up the goddamn nation. Looks like they always end up in a rut. Everybody now trying to make it real compared to what? Come on, baby.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Pascucci, and welcome to another exciting adventure of everything but the kitchen sink, Mansfield Cable Access's premier talk show in our time slot. I always say that. It is so good to be here tonight. I want to start off, as we always start off, and the usual opening, and that is that if you would like to be a guest on our show, if you have a question for one of our guests, recommend a guest, anything you want us to do, the all-purpose way to get a hold of us is through our email account at mansfieldkitchensink@gmail.com, right there on your screen. Works every time, courtesy of numero uno director Jack O'Neill, who is absolutely awesome, and he makes us all look good every week. Again, you can get a hold of us through Facebook on Everything But the Kitchen Sink TV show. We are also on talkmansfield.org, and so you can that's how you get a hold of us. Also, got to give our weekly plug to the furry friends at the Mansfield Animal Shelter. Okay, the little ones who can't ask for help themselves. So I'll ask for it. You go down to Fruit Street and see the brand new shelter, 100% brand new from the ground up, built with 100% donations. Beautiful facility. It's a great place. Go down and visit our furry little friends there, and you can also catch it on mansfieldshelter.org. Also, speaking of .org, we have always our shout out to protectmasschildren.org, and you want to check their site out. And don't forget, they're doing their drawing for the Mustang to raise funds for their cause. And of course, they've been on a couple of times, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them again. So now. Okay, you guys you keep asking me to push the envelope, and we keep doing it. We want to get the most interesting guests we can find, and I'm very delighted today to have such an interesting guest. I hope you will enjoy hearing from her as much as I've enjoyed, making arrangements with her. She's been dubbed by me as the First Lady of Boston Traffic. But there's so much more to this wonderful person. I just want to give a big kitchen sink welcome to the lovely Ms. Gina Tempesta. Welcome to my kitchen.
Hi, Dan. Hi, nice to finally be here.
Oh, it's so nice to have you. Otherwise known as Mrs. T.
Yep, sometimes.
Sometimes that's actually not. That doesn't go with I pity the fool. That's more of an Italian thing. And I know because my father was always Mr. P. And it's one of those deals when We didn't have short names like Kelly, so it was just an initial. So, yes, welcome to the kitchen.
Thank you.
So glad you could make it. Not local, not much of a local person. You actually had quite a ride, but we were able to get some transportation for you.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Yeah, we had a little bit of adventure, but
Well, it's a big budget show. We were able to rent an ox for you, so that was pretty good. You are famous for a couple of things, mostly being on the radio. And you've done radio traffic for how long?
Well, I was in radio a total of 25 years, off and on doing traffic 16 of those years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And you worked on a lot of different stations.
I did.
Yeah.
I worked on most of the major radio stations through actually being on the station or through Metro Networks doing the traffic through them.
So that isn't any particular radio studio then, right?
Right. That was the traffic studio that we would go into, and I'm speaking in the past tense now because I'm not in radio anymore. But we'll get into that.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're into something new,
yes,
something different,
yep,
something legal. And so we'll get to that. But as far as being on the radio, so you were there, okay. Now, prior to that, you had another interesting job. Is that true? You worked at the welfare department?
I did. I worked at the welfare department for a few years while I was trying to pay for broadcasting school. I had gone to Emerson College for a couple of years, studied acting, and then didn't know what I wanted to do. Left Emerson and got a job with the welfare department. I was interested in human services at the time, so I was kind of fiddling around with that idea. So I worked at the welfare department for a couple of years in the child support services, and decided I wanted to take my acting training and put that into a career in radio, a job in radio.
Wow. Now, how did you land in the welfare department?
Well, my sister worked in the welfare department, basically, so that was kind of the easiest way to get the job. And it was interesting because I was in child support services and I really didn't know that much about what I was doing at the time. And I learned a lot about the legal system. So when I decided to go into radio news, it was great background because I understood the legal system. So when I was doing stories for radio, I basically knew what I was talking about. So it's funny how it worked out, but it was a good background to have.
Yeah. So you did other things besides traffic on the radio.
I did. I started at WATD down in Marshfield. I was born and raised in Pembroke.
Oh wow!
Yes, I'm a South Shore girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like our good friend Joe DiPietro from Protect Mass Children. He's a North Shore guy, but he's from Rehoboth.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So a lot of transplants.
Yeah. So I wound up going down to Marshfield, one of my first jobs, because I knew the area. I was living in Boston at the time, but I knew the area. So I started out as their morning anchor, doing news down there and covering local stories and local elections. Really getting my feet wet in the business.
Oh wow! Kind of like what we do here. A lot of people say we're all wet here, but I guess that's something else. Now, how many other stations? What are some of the radio stations that you worked at, or were? Yeah, I know you were broadcast on pretty much everyone.
Pretty much every station that Metro had as a client. So what happened was I left ATD and got a job at Metro as the weekend traffic reporter for WHDH back in the day. Radio WHDH. So
Right.
This goes back a long time.
Was that Jess Kane back, or?
That was when they were all news.
Okay.
So that was the day of, Rick Simonson was one of their anchors, Roseanne Pawelek, who's no longer in radio. So they were the 24-hour news station back then. Before they flipped, I think there was a flip and they lost those call letters as a radio station. But I was their weekend news anchor, traffic reporter rather, and I did a little bit of work on BZ, and then I did some fill-in work on the other FM stations. But mainly, I was still working at ATD, raising my first child, and working at Metro. And then I worked there for many, many years off and on, and basically I did every possible shift at every station. I probably have done every single station probably except WBCN at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, they were one of their only clients that we didn't have.
They probably didn't do traffic.
They didn't have, or maybe they had their own traffic person, but Metro had back in the day they had about 100 clients.
In those days, I think traffic was probably the least concern of the people at BCN.
The big rock and roll station, but I've done
all the heavies were there.
Did all the major stations. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who are some of the notable people you worked with? It was mostly morning drive, or did you do morning and afternoon?
A lot of times I did afternoon because at this point I was probably raising my second child, so I was on different shifts.
Now you have 3 children.
I do have 3. Yeah.
One of each?
Well, we like to call her that now. Now I have a boy and 2 girls.
Oh, very nice. And how old are they now?
Now Tony is he'll be 24, 20 Annalisa, and Isabella's 15.
Oh, very nice.
So still doing a little bit of raising, yeah.
Yep, 15's a tough age. We
it's
talked
tough,
about that.
yeah.
It's a tough age especially with a little girl.
Keeping me on my toes, that's for sure.
And
But some of the big names, probably one of the biggest names is Tom Bergeron. Now, back in the day, not many people know this or remember this, but Tom Bergeron actually had a morning show on WBZ.
Yes.
Yeah. So I used to be one of their fill-in traffic people, and of course Dave Maynard.
Yep. Dave Maynard.
Yeah.
He's all retired.
Yeah.
And Tom Bergeron. Now he got very good friends with another legend that's since left us, Larry Glick.
Oh yeah.
They were buddies.
Yeah.
They had quite a thing going. They really took a shine to each other. There was a Glick click, I guess they called it. And
that might have been before my time.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
that was when Larry worked days, though. It wasn't when he had the night show.
Oh, okay. It was still pretty. It's still pretty new to the business. Still didn't kind of really know who everybody was at the time, and not quite in awe of everybody and know the big names, but. Just kind of just went in, did my job. Of course, Tom, he's gone on and done great things.
Oh yeah, he's done Hollywood Squares, and was he Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, written a couple of books. Yeah.
Yep, he's done all right for himself. A local kid makes good. Yeah, and now you worked with a lot of the rock and roll. We for lack of a better term, rock and roll people.
Yep, did some of the radio stations, the rock and roll stations too. I did AAF and did Kiss and I did oldies for a little while too.
Yeah, I know you were on oldies. Yeah, and you worked with Dale Dorman.
Off and on. Yeah.
Okay, and he's retired now, right?
He is retired. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're all getting up there.
Yeah, it was funny because Gina and I had a telephone conversation during the week, and we were reminiscing about how and I won't say when, but it was a while ago. We listened to Dale Dorman on AM radio on our little transistor radios.
Yeah.
They didn't have, back in those days, and I'm not trying to be insulting here, but they didn't have, iPads and iPods and Walkmans and things like that. I mean, you had a little transistor radio.
And just AM.
And just AM. But that's, nobody listened to FM, so it didn't matter. And only your parents did. They listened to WJIB.
Yes, that's right. And I think I've probably done traffic for JIB at some point too.
Wow, I didn't even know they did traffic.
They did for a little while.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what they did over there. So you have any anecdotes or funny stories about some of the people you worked with that you want to share?
I have a ton of funny stories. It's been a wacky, it was a wacky career. My favorite story is probably Tom Bergeron. I don't know if I can tell you this story, but I was filling in for Joe Stapleton early one morning, and this was when Tom had the morning show. And I got in, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I ran in. I must have been running late. We were up at the Prue back then, too, which was kind of interesting. So we used to actually literally look at the traffic through binoculars. Because we had, we were on the 50th floor, we could see everything. And especially if the helicopters didn't go up, we had a great view. We didn't have cameras back then either. We didn't have the traffic cameras and the monitors like they have now. So I guess nobody had time to call Tom and let him know that it wasn't Joe Stapleton. So I run in, I put my headphones on, and Tom says, and now we go up to the sky and we turn Joe Stapleton, who's looking through his binoculars to see how traffic is. He goes, how's traffic, Joe? I didn't say anything. Joe? I said, Tom, it's not Joe. And you know what? Those aren't binoculars. And it was silent, and there was a little bit of heat going on. Okay, we'd just been cut to traffic. So that was one of my favorite all-time stories. It was just so funny. I'm not a good improviser. That's why I loved doing news and traffic, because you basically could read a script, but that was a funny moment for me.
Especially nowadays, there's a lot of interaction with news people and traffic reporters, and it's been that way for a while.
Yeah,
and it's actually kind of fun.
It is fun, but I always kind of found it difficult because, first of all, the transition from the banter to get into traffic was always a little bit difficult. And doing news, it was always difficult too, because you don't want to be too much of a personality if you're a news anchor. So I always found that a little bit of a tough line to walk, because you have to have some credibility when you're talking about a serious news story. So,
tell that to some of the news people out there now. I mean,
I took my job very seriously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, so how does traffic reporting work? So you just kind of you're in one spot. You would just kind of explain that, and then now you're in one little area, one desk or whatever, and then they just say, okay, now you're on with so and so. Now you're on with Tom Bergeron. Now you're on with Dale Dorman.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand how that works. A lot of people think that you're actually in the radio station. For the most part, we're not. Some traffic reporters are at the station. It depends again if they're part of the team and they're a personnel.